This is installment 3 in my audiobook series. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and as I just mentioned, this is my 3rd audiobook video in my little audiobook series that I'm doing. There's going to be one more after this one. So today's video is based on an article that I read, which I do, and it's talking about reading just okay audiobooks. So if you're used to using a Goodreads rating system for books, kind of like a 3-star audiobook, and why that's a good thing, why it's okay to read just okay audiobooks. And this was written by Danika Ellis, and I believe Danika works for Book Riot, writes for Book Riot, and they at one point had their own YouTube channel, BookTube channel. I don't think it's up anymore, I don't remember. There may be a Book Riot BookTube channel. You can go look. But I think a lot of you may already know who she is. But the article, she was talking about in the article, you know, listening to audiobooks, and she said the same thing I often do, that fiction is very difficult for me to listen to the first time around, because I need to devote more focus to fiction than I do to nonfiction. And not because nonfiction is easier, but it's just a different type of writing. And in fiction, there's more of an artistic element and a form element, and listening to that on audio is far easier if I've already read the novel or any type of fiction. And I looked at my own audiobooks that I've listened to over the past couple of years, and I definitely have a quick list of just okay audiobooks. And I don't necessarily, we'll talk about each one, but I didn't go into each audiobook looking to listen to just an okay audiobook. And one of the points she has in the article is there are times when we turn on a TV show that could be a series that we've watched over and over and over again, and it's familiar to us. I'm thinking of the Golden Girls right now. And because we know all of the shows, it's kind of just empty calories, so to speak. And it's just mostly entertainment to listen to, so there's not a lot of investment or thought that has to go into it. Or there could be an audiobook we want to listen to because we know it's going to be light, or we know it's going to be fluffy, or not require a lot of mental investment, especially for somebody like me who listens to audiobooks in the car, typically exclusively in the car. So I think that's another reason why nonfiction is easier for me. So let me talk to you about a list of books that were just okay for me, and we'll talk about whether I was happy to have read them or not. The first one is Hunger, a Memoir by Roxane Gay. And I have read several books, probably 3, if not 4 books by Roxane Gay. One of them was an essay compilation from different authors. But I listened to Hunger, alternating between the book and the audio. And I thought this book was okay. Her personal story was fascinating. She talks about the trauma that happened in her young life and what led to her use of food to cope with different types of trauma, and how that affected her as an adult, and how that affected the weight that she became. She's a very large person. And she talks about that in this memoir and what led up to that. And that part of the memoir was so interesting to me, and I was really interested to listen to her talk about her past. The other part of the memoir has a lot to do with pop culture and different, her talking about different things in her present, in essay form, and it just did not hold my interest as much as her personal story did. She also narrated the audiobook, which is good. I wasn't as engaged in her narration as I have been in other authors' narrations of their memoirs. So this was an average. It was an okay audiobook for me. This one I was glad I listened to. I was glad I read it because I liked to hear her story. And when I pick up a memoir, that's usually what I'm looking for, is I want to hear that person's memories and their stories of their life. I don't really want to intersperse that with essays on pop culture or entertainment culture. But I was glad I read this one. The next one is a short story. It's called The Grownup by Gillian Flynn, who is the author of Gone Girl. And this was fun. It was a short story, so super quick. I think it was less than an hour to listen to. It was maybe a half hour. But this was kind of a mystery thriller, kind of a story on audio. And I don't remember if she narrated it or not. I don't think she did, but it was a good narrator. And it was good. It was a fun listen. It was short enough so that it kept my interest and my focus. It was, it's Gillian Flynn, so it's kind of a thrillery, maybe a murdery kind of a story. And it was fun to listen to. It's not anything spectacular. There was nothing special or even quite memorable about it. I mean, I remember listening to it. I don't remember a lot of the details. I remember there was a mystery. But it was a fun, quick, short listen. So, yeah, not a bad audiobook for 3 stars. The next one is another memoir. It's called An Abbreviated Life by a memoir by Ariel Levy. And she is the daughter of a poet, and I don't remember the name of the poet. She was famous back in the day. If I remember to look it up, I'll put her name here on the screen. This one was narrated by Martha Plimpton. The narration was awesome. I love Martha Plimpton's voice, and she did a great job on the narration. This was an interesting memoir because she had a really difficult relationship with her mother, and there was mental illness with her mother, and as a child growing up with her, it was chaos. And there was some emotional abuse and some neglect, and there was a lot there. It was a lot to process. The story, her story itself was a little choppy and jumpy. I kind of questioned a lot of what she was telling me in this audiobook. I had a really difficult time with definitely the mother and some of the decisions that were made. I had a difficult time as Levy grew up and what the type of relationship she had with her mother and how that developed or fell apart. It was just a little bit awkward of a listen. So that's why I gave that one 3 stars. Again, I don't regret listening to it. I think it's just okay, but I went into it hoping it was going to be more than just okay, but I don't regret having listened to this book. The next one is a book I listened to for Mental Health May last year, and it's called My Lovely Wife in the Psych Ward by Mark Lukács. This one, I had more of a problem with the actual content, the story, than I did the narration. Lukács narrates it himself. And I was a little skeptical, disillusioned, shocked is not the right word, but very surprised at some of the events in their lives and some of the decisions they made. This is a memoir about his experience with his wife and her developing a psychosis that neither one of them were aware of when they met and got married. But clearly it has a profound impact on both of their lives and the lives of their family. So it was an interesting premise. I did not really enjoy this book. And it's not that you're going to enjoy reading about somebody's mental illness, but there are other memoirs that I did enjoy listening to or reading that were shocking or surprising. This one was not one of them. And I would not be sorry if I had never listened to this audiobook. Yeah, I don't know. You can't, it's difficult to read or listen to somebody's memoir and say, well, I don't agree with that, or I don't agree with what they did or what they chose to do. It's their life. So you listen to their life and you move on. But this one just didn't work for me. So the next one, ironically, is a novel. And I listened to it. I think I got a good deal on it. That's why I listened to this one. And I thought, I'm going to try a novel that I've never read before. And it's Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. I have listened to this one, and then I read her second book, Happiness Falls. And I'm not going to read another Angie Kim novel again. I did not like either one enough to pick up her next book. And Miracle Creek is the story of a Korean family who had immigrated to the U.S., and the father was a developer of this kind of miracle compartment cylinder thing that he claimed cured a lot of different disorders, and it was almost like a pressure chamber that they had on their property. Well, one day there were people inside the chamber that were there for different cures, a few kids with autism, a few parents with other things that they wanted to cure, and the chamber blew up, and there was a child killed. Interesting premise. It was kind of a legal mystery. So there was a legal proceedings, and I believe Angie Kim was an attorney at one point, or maybe still is. But this did not work for me, for sure, and I didn't like the narration. The story just, I don't know, it wasn't, the mystery and the thriller wasn't compelling enough to me. And I would be fine having never listened to this one either. I didn't get along with it. I don't think I like her writing. A lot of her themes are similar. She did some research at a Center for Children with Autism, and both of her books so far have those topics running throughout, which is great. I was all in for that, but I didn't like how the book was written. I didn't like engage with the characters. The story was not, I don't know, that interesting to me, and it didn't work. This one didn't work, so I would be fine if I had never listened to it. The next one I listened to because I was reading it for the BookTube Prize a few years back, and I had the opportunity to get the CDs out from the library, the actual physical CDs, because I could not download it. And it was, it was A Promised Land by Barack Obama, his first installment of his memoir. And yes, it was a 3-star read for me. I couldn't speed it up at all because it was physical CDs. And there were 36 hours of memoir for this one. And he narrates it. I love his voice. I could listen to his voice forever. But it was very male-centric. And I know that there are women involved in government, and he did talk about several women. But there was a lot of name-dropping, and I think that happens with a lot of political memoirs. I worked with this person, and I have to give credit to this person. There was a lot of that. And I wasn't really interested in the basketball games and some of those other events that it didn't really fit to, I don't know. Maybe it's a part of his life, so yeah. But it was an okay listen for me. It was an okay audiobook. It was easy to listen to in the car. I'm glad I listened to this one. But this was pretty much a 3-star read for me. The next one is another one that I listened to for the BookTube Prize. I really didn't like this book at all. It is The Escape Artist, The Man Who Broke Out of Auschwitz by Jonathan Friedland. I didn't like this story. I love the topic, but I didn't like the story. And the audiobook narrator was good. The book itself I thought was too ill-prepared. It wasn't researched well enough. He didn't tie the facts together well enough. And it wasn't a success for me. Had I not been reading it for the BookTube Prize, I probably never would have read it. I never would have gone out to look for it. So, the last one. This one is an interesting one because it's a book I need to get back to. And I have it in physical form, so I was alternating. This is on my list of books that I want to, my 24 and 24 list. And this is a novel. And I was reading it and then trying to listen to it to see if I could make more sense of it, but it didn't work. But I am determined to go back to the physical book and read it again. And it's The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I can't even tell you what it's about because I felt stupid reading it. I don't really still understand what this book is about. It's science fiction. It's Ursula K. Le Guin, classic science fiction author. The audiobook was well narrated. And the story is interesting, and I read quite a bit of this book, and I gave up. I could not put my brain through this anymore. But I was enjoying it. I just want to understand it. And so I will go back to the physical book. I have the Library of America edition that I am going to go back and read, and I am determined. I am determined to finish and understand The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Definitely glad that I listened to it in part as well as read it. I think I still have it on audio. I will possibly supplement the book if I need to or want to, but I am glad that I listened to this one and hope to finish it in the future. So that's it for me for the list of audiobooks that I thought were just okay audiobooks. Some I wouldn't miss if I had never read them. Some that I really did enjoy listening to. And I guess I am thankful that there are audiobooks like that that are really easy to listen to in the car, that I don't put a lot of mental investment in. I can just absorb the information. That's why nonfiction works really good for me on audio. Some nonfiction, there's some nonfiction books that I thought were so spectacular, I am glad I read them in physical form because I want that book. And it was easier for me to pull things out, to invest thought, to, just absorb the information. So I'm glad I have that book on my shelf, those books on my shelves. Let me know what you think about any of these books. If you've listened to them on audio, what you think about the topic of it's good to read okay audiobooks, and tell me what you think about all that. If you get into fiction that is, 5-star fiction, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.